Sylvester Stallone had remained tight-lipped for years, but now, at 79, he finally spoke out about his longtime friend, Bruce Willis, age 70, the man who once dazzled audiences with his tough guy persona, who made heroes of ordinary men on the silver screen, was facing a struggle that no action sequence could save him from. Bruce Willis, a legend, a living icon, had been diagnosed with a disease that would quietly unravel his world. The cameras always saw Bruce as indestructible, a force of nature in every frame. But behind closed doors, there was a fragility few could imagine. The laughter, the charisma, the bravado were shields, not truths. For years, friends, family, and even co-stars had noticed small cracks, fleeting moments of confusion, hints of something deeper. Yet the world continued to cheer. Sylvester remembered the first time he noticed it, a subtle hesitation in Bruce's voice on a film set, a pause before a line he had delivered flawlessly 1,000 times. It was so slight that most would dismiss it, but Stallone didn't. He had seen Bruce battle through adversity before, on set and in life, and this felt different. More personal, more permanent. At the height of Hollywood's glare, Bruce had always been a soldier, never one to admit vulnerability. And yet, now, the man who saved lives, who punched through impossible odds on screen, was fighting a battle invisible to everyone but those closest to him. What Stallone reveals now is more than a confession. It is a portrait of the private suffering of a man the world believed could never be broken. Could a hero like Bruce Willis, a symbol of resilience and courage, truly face a battle he could not conquer? And if so, what would that mean for those who had idolized him for decades? Behind the public appearances, behind the red carpet smiles, lay a truth so intimate and harrowing that Stallone, until now, had chosen silence. For the first time, Stallone opens the door to Bruce's hidden reality, a diagnosis that would change everything, not just Bruce's life, but the lives of everyone who loved him, who admired him, who relied on his strength as an anchor in a chaotic Hollywood world. And yet, there is a story here not just of loss, but of unwavering friendship, loyalty, and the fragile beauty of life itself. The question lingers: how does a man, celebrated as indestructible, cope when the fight moves from the streets of an action movie to the confines of his own body? And more importantly, what does Stallone's revelation now mean for a world that has long viewed Bruce Willis as untouchable? Bruce Willis had long been the embodiment of a Hollywood hero, the kind of star whose very presence could elevate a film into a cultural moment. Age 70, he carried decades of blockbuster hits, from the frantic chaos of Die Hard to the understated charm of smaller dramatic roles. His public image was crafted carefully, deliberately, a combination of charisma, ruggedness, and a quiet humor that made him both relatable and larger than life. The cameras loved him, fans adored him, colleagues admired him. Bruce's name on a marquee guaranteed attention, guaranteed ticket sales, and guaranteed a sense of reliability in an industry defined by fleeting trends. Every interview, every appearance, every smile captured by paparazzi was part of a carefully maintained narrative. Bruce Willis, the unshakable action star, the consummate professional, the man who never faltered. Yet even at his most polished, there were glimpses of the human beneath the armor. A subtle tension in a press photo, a flicker of fatigue in the eyes, a brief pause during an acceptance speech. Small hints that the man who seemed untouchable was, in fact, vulnerable. But the public rarely noticed. The audience wanted the icon, not the human. They wanted the thrill of Die Hard, not the quiet moments behind the scenes. Fans knew Bruce as a symbol of resilience. Social media posts, magazine covers, and Hollywood retrospectives framed him as invincible. They celebrated his achievements, but they rarely saw the effort behind the performance, the relentless discipline, the grueling schedules, the sacrifices of privacy and family life that allowed him to maintain this image. The public image was a fortress built with precision, but every fortress has cracks. Colleagues like Stallone observed those cracks long before the world did. Stallone, now 79, often noticed subtle changes during conversations on set or at private gatherings, a hesitation in his speech, an unusual forgetfulness, a lack of his usual spark, the kind of details that escape the public eye but are impossible to ignore for those who truly know the person. To the world, Bruce was unwavering. In private, he was quietly fighting moments that no stunt or script could protect him from. Hollywood, however, thrives on perception. To admit weakness, to reveal vulnerability, risks not just reputation, but opportunity. Bruce managed this delicate balance for decades, presenting the image the world demanded while guarding the truth the world wasn't ready to see. Interviews, red carpets, press junkets, every smile and confident pose served a purpose. The man behind the lens, however, bore a silent burden that few could comprehend. This public image, carefully curated and protected, would soon collide with reality. The diagnosis Bruce faced could no longer remain a private struggle. The unshakable hero was beginning to show the signs of a profound human challenge. And it was Stallone, the lifelong friend and fellow icon, who would become the first to break the silence, revealing the truth behind the carefully maintained legend. How does a world built on perception respond when its hero is suddenly humanized, stripped of the invincibility that defined him? This question would become central not just to Bruce's story, but to the larger narrative of fame, loyalty, and the fragile nature of celebrity itself. Behind the public persona, Bruce Willis carried a life that few ever glimpsed. While audiences saw the confident, sharp-tongued and invincible action star, the reality was far more complex. Bruce's private world was a mosaic of dedication, vulnerability, and quiet struggle. A side carefully shielded from the cameras, the tabloids, and even casual acquaintances. Friends who had known him for decades recall a man of contrasts. He could be boisterous and irreverent one moment, then introspective and somber the next. His humor often served as a mask, a way to deflect attention from inner battles no script could depict. Those closest to him understood that the toughness projected on screen was only a fraction of who he really was. Beneath it lay sensitivity, moments of doubt, and a constant grappling with the pressure of maintaining the image the world expected. Sylvester Stallone, 79, often noticed these subtle nuances. During long conversations away from cameras, he saw Bruce hesitate when discussing personal matters, or pause as if considering the weight of emotions he rarely allowed to surface. Stallone knew that the public perception, a flawless, indestructible figure, was only a veneer. There was a side to Bruce that even the most devoted fans could never see. A man quietly battling his own limitations, his own fears, and, ultimately, a looming medical reality. The hidden self of Bruce Willis was not defined by weakness, but by the immense discipline it took to maintain the duality of his life. For decades, he balanced family, work, and public expectation, all while concealing the vulnerabilities that could disrupt the narrative Hollywood demanded. He was a performer in every sense of the word, not only on screen but in life itself, a man who mastered the art of control, of restraint, and of concealment. Yet, despite the carefully constructed armor, there were signs that could not be ignored. Friends recount moments of frustration over forgotten lines, unexplained pauses, and fleeting confusion. These were small cracks in the armor, almost imperceptible, but persistent enough to disturb those who truly knew him. Stallone recognized that these moments were not the eccentricities of age or fatigue, but early signals of something deeper, something that would eventually demand confrontation. Bruce's hidden self was also characterized by profound loyalty and emotional depth. Family meant everything to him, and he protected them fiercely. He navigated fame with a rare combination of humility and determination, never allowing celebrity to dictate his personal ethics or his treatment of those around him. Yet, even in this selfless devotion, he carried burdens alone, choosing to shield the world from the vulnerability that Stallone would later reveal in stark detail. This hidden self, the private Bruce, the man beyond the silver screen, was a testament to human complexity. It was the side that struggled in silence, the side that feared loss of control, the the side that would ultimately be confronted by a diagnosis no one could prepare for. And it is here, in the concealed depths of his identity, that the story of resilience, friendship, and human fragility begins to unfold. The stage is set. The public has seen the legend. Now, we move closer to the man himself, the life shaped by experience, sacrifice, and the private realities that would remain hidden until Stallone chose to speak. Bruce Willis's story did not begin under the bright lights of Hollywood, nor in the applause of an adoring crowd. It began in a small, unassuming world where the foundations of his resilience and character were quietly forged. Born in 1955 in Idar Oberstein, Germany, to a military father and a mother with a nurturing spirit, Bruce's early life was marked by both mobility and uncertainty. Moving frequently, experiencing the instability of a military household, he learned early the importance of adaptability, self-reliance, and the value of inner strength. The young Bruce was not destined for stardom, nor did he appear immediately destined to captivate millions. He struggled in school, often feeling like an outsider, and was drawn to the small victories of everyday life, rather than grand achievements. But even then, a spark existed, a natural charisma, a mischievous wit, a sense of humor that could disarm the tension in any room. Friends from those early years recall a boy who was at once charming and stubborn, playful yet serious, already showing glimpses of the duality that would later define his hidden self. It was in these formative years that Bruce began to cultivate a deep sense of determination. He witnessed the fragility of human connection, the weight of responsibility, and the necessity of perseverance. While his peers sought comfort and familiarity, Bruce embraced challenge. Small acts, a public speaking contest, a local theater performance, or the courage to face a difficult move became milestones in a life that would eventually demand extraordinary fortitude. The early influence of family cannot be understated. His father's military discipline instilled a respect for structure, duty, and endurance, while his mother's nurturing guidance taught him empathy, resilience, and the importance of emotional intelligence. These opposing forces, rigor and tenderness, interwove to shape a young man capable of both commanding presence and heartfelt vulnerability. This balance would later allow him to navigate the ruthless and unpredictable world of Hollywood, maintaining both authority and relatability. Before fame, Bruce faced ordinary struggles that would test his character: financial instability, social challenges, and the quest for identity in a world that often felt indifferent forged a resilience that became second nature. He learned early that success required more than talent. It demanded patience, adaptability, and the quiet courage to continue when others might give up. Every early setback, every moment of self-doubt became a stepping stone, silently preparing him for the public battles and personal challenges to come. Even as he moved toward acting, his origins remained a grounding force. The small victories of youth, the lessons from family, and the quiet moments of reflection created an inner compass that guided him through the turbulence of Hollywood. These roots, hidden from the glare of cameras, were as critical to Bruce's story as the iconic films that would later define him. They shaped not only his success, but also the resilience and grace with which he would face the private trials that now, decades later, had become impossible to ignore. Bruce's origins remind us that every legend is first human, that every star carries the echoes of childhood struggles, of formative challenges, and of lessons learned in the quiet, uncelebrated moments of life. The boy who once navigated uncertainty, fear, and imperfection would grow into a man who inspired millions, yet who, in the end, faced battles no audience could witness. And it is from these beginnings, these foundational experiences, that we can trace the spark that would ignite Bruce's journey to stardom, a journey that would test not only his talent but his humanity in ways few could imagine. Bruce Willis's journey from a boy with quiet determination to a Hollywood icon began with a spark, an ignition of passion that would shape the trajectory of his entire life. It was not a single moment, nor a lightning strike of destiny, but a series of small awakenings, subtle nudges from life that guided him toward the world of performance. As a young adult, Bruce moved to New York City, a place teeming with ambition, chaos, and opportunity. The city's energy was overwhelming, yet it ignited something in him, a realization that his natural charisma, his ability to connect, and his relentless drive could be transformed into a craft. He began taking small acting roles, navigating auditions, and learning the intricate dance of performance, where timing, emotion, and presence determined whether a moment would resonate or fade into obscurity. The spark was also fueled by observation. Bruce studied those who had succeeded before him, dissecting their performances, understanding their presence, and internalizing lessons on resilience, adaptability, and humility. He saw that success was never accidental. It was cultivated through preparation, discipline, and an unrelenting commitment to growth. Every rejection, every overlooked audition, became fuel for a fire that would not be extinguished. Family and friends noticed a change in him during this period. The shy, uncertain young man began to carry himself with purpose, walking through life with a growing confidence that was tempered by self-awareness. He was learning not just to act, but to understand people, their fears, their motivations, their vulnerabilities. These insights would later inform every character he portrayed, adding depth and realism that set him apart from his contemporaries. Bruce's first breakthrough in the theater world was modest, yet profoundly important. Small off-Broadway productions, fleeting roles in television, and a series of auditions that tested his patience laid the groundwork for something bigger. Each experience sharpened his instincts, strengthened his resolve, and clarified the path ahead. The spark was not merely the discovery of acting as a craft, but the awakening to a purpose that fused passion with discipline, a purpose that would eventually make him one of the most recognized faces in cinema. And then, there was the chance encounter that would change everything. Directors and casting agents noticed his presence, his timing, his ability to convey both toughness and vulnerability in the same glance. Bruce was no longer just another hopeful actor. He had become someone the industry could not ignore. The spark had caught flame, and what began as curiosity and experimentation transformed into a career-defining pursuit, propelling him toward the iconic roles that would define his public image and, ultimately, his legacy. Yet even in these early successes, there were glimpses of the hidden struggles that would accompany his rise. The pressure of expectation, the scrutiny of critics, and the demands of an industry that prized perfection over humanity began to shape the man behind the screen. The spark was not only a moment of opportunity, it was the beginning of a lifelong balancing act between ambition, performance, and the personal vulnerabilities he would guard fiercely. Bruce's spark was a reminder that greatness is often born in the quiet spaces of effort, observation, and perseverance. That the first step toward legend is not always dramatic, but a patient and determined journey of self-discovery. It was this spark, carefully nurtured, that would illuminate his path, yet also foreshadow the personal battles that fame could not shield him from. A truth that Stallone would later reveal to the world with unflinching honesty. Bruce Willis's breakthrough was not sudden. It was a convergence of preparation, timing, and the magnetic presence that had quietly grown within him. In the early 1980s, television offered him his first real platform. Moonlighting, the hit series that paired him with Sybil Shepherd, showcased a side of Bruce the public had yet to see, a charming, witty, and deeply relatable man whose humor and emotional nuance transcended the script. It was here that audiences began to connect with Bruce not just as an actor, but as a human being, someone who could be both heroic and vulnerable in the same moment. The series was a cultural phenomenon. Ratings soared, critics praised his performance, and Bruce became a household name almost overnight. But behind the glimmering success was a man grappling with the weight of expectation. The public adored him, but with that adoration came pressure. The need to maintain a persona, to continue performing at a level that few could sustain. Every day was a negotiation between the image he projected and the private reality he guarded. It was during this period that Bruce first felt the full intensity of fame. Interviews, magazine covers, late-night appearances, and endless photo sessions became routine. Each interaction demanded precision, charm, and the perfect blend of confidence and accessibility. He learned to read audiences before they spoke, to anticipate expectations, and to navigate the intricate dance of celebrity with skill few mastered. Yet, even as he achieved unprecedented visibility, he remained acutely aware of the hidden costs. Every smile, every quip was carefully calibrated, and the mask of invincibility began to take root. The transition from television to blockbuster films marked the next stage of Bruce's meteoric rise. Die Hard, released in 1988, was transformative. In the role of John McClane, Bruce embodied a hero who was flawed, human, and fiercely resilient, a reflection of the duality that defined his own life. The film's success cemented his status as an action star, propelling him into global recognition and opening doors to projects that would define a generation of cinema. It was a victory for talent, timing, and tenacity, a breakthrough that few actors achieve in a lifetime. Yet, as the accolades and financial rewards accumulated, so too did the pressures. The expectation to deliver perfection, to remain untouchable on and off screen, began to weigh heavily. Bruce's private struggles, moments of fatigue, fleeting confusion, and the early whispers of health challenges were carefully concealed, hidden beneath the public persona that audiences loved. Only those closest to him, like Stallone, could perceive the subtle cracks forming beneath the polished surface. This breakthrough was not only professional but deeply personal. Bruce learned the cost of fame, the demands of celebrity, and the importance of resilience, not just in the roles he played, but in the life he led behind the scenes. It was a time of triumph, yet also the beginning of a new chapter where the burdens of success would increasingly collide with the vulnerabilities he had long kept private. Bruce Willis had arrived. The world celebrated him, critics lauded him, and fans embraced him as an icon. But the breakthrough was also a prelude, a foreshadowing of the challenges that lay ahead. Challenges that fame could not protect him from, and struggles that Stallone would later reveal, transforming the public understanding of Bruce's life from legend to human truth. By the early 1990s, Bruce Willis had ascended to a level of fame few could imagine. The crown he wore was not a literal one, but a symbolic testament to his influence, reach, and dominance in Hollywood. With blockbuster films, award nominations, and an ever-growing fan base, he had become a touchstone of an era, a man whose name alone evoked excitement, admiration, and respect. The world saw him as untouchable, the quintessential action hero, the dependable leading man, the charismatic presence whose performances were etched into the collective memory of a generation. Every premiere was a spectacle, every press appearance a demonstration of precision and confidence. Bruce's public image was flawless, polished and seemingly impervious to the struggles that defined so many others in the entertainment industry. Yet beneath the crown, the pressures of expectation were relentless. Every new project demanded not only talent but perfection, a standard that could break even the strongest of individuals. Directors, producers, and fans expected the Bruce Willis of Die Hard, the Bruce Willis who could carry a film with a combination of charm, wit, and toughness. There was little room for vulnerability, no allowance for misstep, and no tolerance for human fragility. At the height of his fame, Bruce's personal life remained largely private, yet it was a world fraught with challenges. Relationships, family responsibilities, and the unceasing demands of his career required constant negotiation. Even as the public celebrated his every move, the private Bruce navigated the complexities of life with careful restraint, concealing fears, doubts, and early signs of health, struggles that would remain largely invisible to the world. Stallone, now 79, often reflected on the contrast between the Bruce the world adored and the Bruce he knew intimately. The crown of Hollywood success was dazzling, but it was heavy, pressing down on a man whose life, behind the camera, was far more intricate than the audience could ever perceive. Every accolade, every headline, every red carpet smile was accompanied by the subtle tension of maintaining control, preserving dignity, and guarding against vulnerabilities that fame could never forgive. The crown was both a reward and a burden. Bruce's talent had earned him admiration, influence, and security, yet it also demanded sacrifices, vigilance, and an unyielding commitment to persona. It was a life in which the lines between identity and image blurred, a life that allowed little room for human error, private struggle, or the acknowledgement of personal fragility. Despite the pressures, Bruce continued to deliver performances that captivated audiences worldwide. His dedication to his craft, his instinctive ability to embody characters, and his unwavering professionalism solidified his place at the top. The crown he wore was the visible proof of a career built on skill, perseverance, and resilience. But it was also a symbol of the isolation, expectation, and private battles that would later define the hidden stories Stallone revealed. At the pinnacle, Bruce's life was an extraordinary paradox. Adored, celebrated, and seemingly invincible on the surface, yet quietly contending with challenges that fame could not conceal. The crown illuminated him to the world, but in its shadow lay the vulnerabilities that would soon demand acknowledgement. With the crown of Hollywood firmly upon his head, Bruce Willis began to pay a price few could understand. Fame, success, and influence came at a cost measured not in dollars, but in moments lost, in the quiet erosion of personal freedom, and in the subtle, often invisible strains on mind and body. Every project required perfection. Every role demanded relentless energy, precision, and presence. Bruce's days blurred into nights, with grueling schedules that tested endurance, body, and spirit. He learned early that the world loved the image more than the man behind it. The expectations were unyielding, and the tolerance for human vulnerability was near zero. Even a hint of faltering could threaten not only reputation but opportunity, making every decision and every performance a high-stakes exercise in control. The personal toll was equally profound. Bruce's relationships, while loving, were often strained by the demands of his career. Time with family was precious, yet fleeting. Public appearances, interviews, and shoots created a rhythm where personal life often became secondary, a sacrifice made in the name of craft and legacy. Even as he built a life of wealth and acclaim, the emotional cost accumulated quietly, unnoticed by fans but keenly felt by those closest to him. There were physical tolls too. Action sequences, stunts, and the constant travel demanded a body pushed to its limits. Injuries were inevitable, but Bruce rarely allowed them to interfere with performance. Pain was managed in private. Weakness was never displayed publicly. The price of maintaining the crown was perpetual effort, endurance, and an almost superhuman commitment to the illusion of invincibility. Yet perhaps the heaviest price was psychological. The relentless scrutiny, the need to maintain composure, and the pressure to be consistently charismatic and confident left little room for vulnerability. Bruce was, in many ways, trapped in the very persona that had elevated him. He had become a symbol, untouchable, admired, and expected to perform heroically at all times. The man beneath the icon was quietly contending with the tension of image versus reality, a struggle invisible to the millions who cheered him on. Friends and colleagues, like Stallone, saw the toll more clearly. He noticed the fatigue behind the smile, the subtle lapses in memory, the rare moments of hesitation that hinted at the human frailty Bruce fought to conceal. The bond between them was strengthened by these observations, by Stallone's awareness that the man the world admired was also quietly struggling. It was a realization that fame and talent could not shield one from life's unavoidable vulnerabilities. Ultimately, the price of Bruce Willis's crown was a duality, public triumph and private, struggle existing side by side. The image of invincibility was maintained for decades, but behind the scenes, sacrifices accumulated, emotional, physical, and psychological. These were the invisible debts of celebrity, the quiet burdens that would eventually intersect with the personal health challenges Stallone would later reveal. Bruce had earned his place at the top, but the cost was immense. The crown gleamed for the world, but its weight pressed relentlessly on the man who wore it, foreshadowing a battle that no accolades, no fame, and no fortune could ever fully mitigate. Even the strongest heroes face moments that remind them of their mortality, their limitations, and their humanity. For Bruce Willis, the fall was not sudden, nor was it catastrophic in a single instance. It was a gradual convergence of pressures, hidden struggles, and the inevitable consequences of decades spent performing under the weight of expectation. Professionally, Bruce continued to shine, but cracks began to appear, subtle, almost imperceptible to the untrained eye, yet impossible to ignore for those closest to him. Lines once delivered effortlessly required extra concentration. On-set interactions, once fluid and confident, occasionally faltered. Friends like Stallone, now 79, noticed the small, telling moments, the hesitation, the repetition, the fleeting confusion that hinted at a deeper challenge. What had been carefully hidden from the world was now pressing closer to visibility. The public largely remained unaware. Fans continued to cheer, celebrating his on-screen heroics while missing the signs behind the scenes. The fall was internal, a private reckoning that juxtaposed the legend with the human, who bore the weight of fame, expectation, and now, the early stages of his medical struggles. It was a battle Bruce fought quietly, determined to preserve the image the world had adored for decades. Personal life, too, was impacted. Relationships with family and friends required increased attention, patience and empathy as Bruce navigated the new realities of his health. There was frustration, moments of fear, and even shame emotions. Rarely associated with the invincible, action star the world knew, the fall was not only professional but deeply personal, challenging his identity and testing his resilience in ways no stunt or script could address. Despite these struggles, Bruce's courage remained unwavering. He continued to work, to engage, to inspire, demonstrating the same determination that had defined his career. Yet the juxtaposition between public image and private reality became sharper, a tension that Stallone felt compelled to address in his eventual revelation. He understood that Bruce was not weak, not failing, but human, a hero confronted by circumstances beyond the control of talent or fame. The fall was also a lesson in humility. Bruce learned in subtle and profound ways that vulnerability is not a weakness, and that admitting struggle does not diminish legacy. For Stallone, observing his friend endure these challenges reinforced the depth of their bond. The loyalty forged over decades, and the responsibility of sharing the truth when the time came. This period of Bruce Willis's life, the moments of struggle hidden from the public, served as a prelude to the revelation of his diagnosis. The fall was not defeat. It was a crucible, testing not only his endurance, but the strength of the relationships around him. It was in this crucible that Stallone recognized the urgency of breaking silence, of revealing the hidden reality of a man the world still admired, but barely understood. Bruce's fall was both subtle and profound, an intersection of fame, personal challenge, and the inevitable vulnerability that accompanies any human life. The world would soon see the consequences not of cinematic battles, but of a very real, deeply human confrontation, one that would redefine the public perception of a legend. For Bruce Willis, silence became both a refuge and a necessity. By this stage in his life, the world had seen him as the unflinching hero, the man who could face impossible odds with a smirk and a firearm, whose toughness seemed effortless, whose presence commanded every scene. Yet behind the facade of invincibility lay a man, grappling with realities that could not be scripted, rehearsed, or performed away. The silence began subtly, in fleeting moments when he would pause mid-conversation, searching for a word that had once come without hesitation. It was in the small lapses on set, the rare instances, when the confidence that had defined him seemed momentarily clouded. To the public, these moments were invisible, dismissed as trivial, inconsequential, or attributed to age. But to those closest to him, family, friends, co-stars like Sylvester Stallone, now 79, they were alarming signals. A quiet alarm indicating that something deeper was unfolding. Bruce had always been a private man. He understood the dangers of revealing vulnerability in an industry that thrived on perception and image. Hollywood rewarded control and punished exposure. Fame was a currency, but it came with strict, unspoken rules. To show weakness was to invite scrutiny. To acknowledge struggle was to risk losing the pedestal on which he stood. Silence, therefore, was both armor and shield, a deliberate choice to protect not only himself, but those he loved from the invasive gaze of the public. But silence carries weight. It is not merely the absence of words. It is the accumulation of unspoken fears, unaddressed challenges, and private battles waged internally. For Bruce, each day demanded an extraordinary act of concentration, maintaining composure on set, performing with precision, engaging with fans and colleagues, all while confronting a reality that grew increasingly difficult to manage in private. The diagnosis that would later be revealed by Stallone was already a looming presence, but Bruce chose silence, fearing not only personal vulnerability, but the consequences for his family, his career, and his carefully cultivated image. This period of silence was marked by duality. On one hand, he remained the consummate professional, punctual, charismatic, and capable of commanding any scene. On the other, he was acutely aware of the fragility beneath the surface, of the moments when memory faltered, when fatigue overwhelmed, when the human body reminded him that even legends have limits. He carried these contradictions alone, creating a private world that was intensely controlled, intensely hidden, and intensely isolating. Family life became both a sanctuary and a source of stress. Emma Hemming, his wife, and his children witnessed the quiet struggles, the uncharacteristic lapses in energy or focus, yet Bruce maintained a stoic presence, determined to shield them from the full magnitude of his challenges. He understood that exposing weakness could create fear, uncertainty, and perhaps even pity, emotions he neither wanted for himself nor for those he loved. Silence in this context was an act of protection as much as concealment. Friends like Stallone observed this silence with growing concern. Over decades of shared experiences, Stallone had learned to read Bruce in ways few others could. The pauses, the subtle shifts in demeanor, the moments of hesitation that others dismissed as trivial were unmistakable to him. He recognized the signs of a man struggling to reconcile the demands of public life with private vulnerability, and he began to understand the enormity of the burden Bruce was carrying alone. The silence extended beyond interactions and gestures. It became an internal dialogue. Bruce wrestled with fear, anger, and a profound sense of isolation. He reflected on the irony of his career, celebrated for portraying invincible men on screen, yet confronted with vulnerabilities that no script could resolve. This internal tension was relentless, a constant reminder that fame and strength do not immunize one from the trials of human existence. During this time, the emotional toll intensified. Each day demanded courage not only for public appearances, but for the simple act of living authentically amidst concealed struggle. There were moments of despair, of frustration, and of longing for relief. Moments that were never recorded, never photographed, and rarely witnessed. Yet within the silence also lay resilience, a determination to endure, to maintain dignity, and to continue fulfilling obligations despite the personal cost. Professional pressures compounded the isolation. Bruce was still in demand. Films, promotions, public appearances, but the relentless pace left little room for vulnerability. He could not afford to falter publicly, and the mechanisms he had relied upon, discipline, preparation, humor, were tested as the challenges grew. Each scene became an exercise in concentration, each public interaction a rehearsal in maintaining poise. The silence was not passive. It was active, a daily performance of control that concealed the complex, often painful reality beneath. The diagnosis, although private at the time, loomed over every action, every decision. It forced Bruce to confront mortality, the limits of his body, and the fragility of the identity he had spent decades constructing. He struggled with the notion that the world had never seen him fully, that the man behind the icon was vulnerable, human, and subject to forces beyond his control. In silence, he processed grief, not only for the challenges he faced personally, but for the potential impact on those who depended on him, admired him, and loved him. Silence also allowed reflection. In private moments, Bruce revisited his life, the origins that shaped him, the spark that ignited his passion, the breakthrough that elevated him to the crown, and the price he had paid for fame. He contemplated friendships, like that with Stallone, and the loyalty that had sustained him through decades of success and adversity. He acknowledged the delicate balance between performance and authenticity, understanding that even in silence, choices carried consequences. This prolonged period of silence ultimately became a crucible. It tested Bruce's emotional endurance, reinforced his resilience, and prepared him for the eventual confrontation with truth. The world saw the legend, but Stallone would later reveal the man, unshielded, confronting a profound reality with courage, dignity, and the support of those closest to him. The silence, while isolating, had also strengthened Bruce in ways invisible to the public, a testament to the fortitude required to navigate the intersection of fame and personal struggle. The human dimension of silence is often overlooked, yet in Bruce's case it was a defining chapter. It revealed the complexity of navigating vulnerability in an environment that prizes invincibility. It demonstrated the weight of concealed burdens, the courage required to endure, and the subtle heroism inherent in maintaining composure while contending with deeply personal challenges. Stallone's eventual decision to speak out was precipitated by this silence. He understood that Bruce's struggle, while private, carried lessons and truths that transcended celebrity. It highlighted the fragility of human strength, the importance of loyalty and friendship, and the profound courage required to face personal adversity in a world that sees only the facade. By breaking the silence, Stallone transformed Bruce's hidden reality into a narrative that could inspire empathy, understanding, and respect, a recognition of the man behind the myth, the human behind the hero. Bruce Willis's silence, therefore, was more than absence of speech. It was a testament to resilience, discretion, and the quiet endurance of a life lived under the relentless gaze of fame. It was the preparation for revelation, the calm before disclosure, and the profound human experience that would forever redefine how the world understood the legend they had admired for decades. The silence had protected, isolated, and strengthened him. And yet it was destined to end, not by Bruce's choice alone, but by the unwavering loyalty of a friend who recognized that the truth, finally shared, could illuminate not just a struggle, but a legacy of courage, humanity, and enduring friendship. After the prolonged silence and the hidden struggles that had defined Bruce Willis's life, the story began to shift. The narrative was no longer solely about the legend of the untouchable action star. It was about the man confronting reality, vulnerability, and the immense challenge of reclaiming control over a life disrupted by illness. This was the beginning of Bruce's return, a journey not to regain public adulation, but to rediscover strength, purpose, and connection within the sphere of his private world. The return began quietly, in moments of personal reflection and subtle reconnection with the rhythms of daily life. Bruce's world, once dominated by scripts, cameras, and red carpets, shifted focus inward. He sought to understand the changes within his body and mind, acknowledging limitations that had long been ignored or denied. Acceptance became the first step, not surrender, but recognition of the reality that had been concealed for so long. Family became central to this process. Emma Hemming, his steadfast partner, became both anchor and compass, providing emotional support while ensuring that Bruce could navigate the challenges of his condition with dignity. The intimacy and trust within the family unit created a sanctuary, a safe environment where Bruce could confront his vulnerabilities without fear of judgment or exposure. His children, while young, were included in this carefully nurtured reality, learning the lessons of resilience, patience, and human strength from a father who remained a hero, not on screen, but in life. Friends like Sylvester Stallone played a pivotal role in Bruce's return. Stallone's decision to break silence about his friend's diagnosis was not an act of betrayal, but one of protection and advocacy. By acknowledging the struggle publicly, Stallone allowed the narrative to shift from one of hidden deterioration to one of courageous confrontation. Bruce's return was fueled by this support, the knowledge that his story, while deeply personal, could inspire awareness, empathy, and understanding in others. Professionally, Bruce approached his craft differently during this period. While the pace of his career inevitably slowed, he embraced projects that aligned with his energy, emotional bandwidth, and personal priorities. He became selective, understanding that his presence, when applied with care, could achieve greater impact than sheer volume of work. The return was not about reclaiming fame, but about curating experiences that honored both his legacy and his current reality. Each role chosen was a testament to his discernment, a reflection of his enduring talent, and a reminder that artistry need not be sacrificed to circumstance. The emotional dimension of the return was profound. Bruce confronted fear, frustration, and grief, often privately, while simultaneously cultivating resilience, hope, and self-compassion. He learned to navigate vulnerability as a source of strength rather than weakness. Moments of doubt were met with reflection, moments of confusion with patience, and moments of despair with the knowledge that he was not alone. The return became a journey of inner mastery, emotional intelligence, and the cultivation of enduring human connection. Public perception began to adjust gradually. Fans, colleagues, and industry insiders recognized the courage inherent in Bruce's transparency, the grace in his selective engagement with the public, and the dignity with which he handled adversity. Where once the narrative centered solely on his physical prowess and on-screen heroics, it evolved to embrace a more nuanced understanding, a recognition of the man who continued to confront life with courage, even when circumstances were profoundly challenging. Stallone's revelations played a transformative role in this evolution. By breaking silence, he reframed the conversation around Bruce's life, not as a tale of decline, but as a narrative of courage, resilience, and enduring friendship. Public empathy grew not through pity, but through admiration for the strength required to navigate such challenges. Bruce's return, therefore, was amplified by this collective recognition, a validation that human vulnerability, when met with courage, can redefine heroism. Health management became a central component of Bruce's return. The diagnosis demanded lifestyle adjustments, medical interventions, and the creation of sustainable routines that could preserve quality of life. Bruce approached this pragmatically, relying on expert guidance, while remaining actively engaged in decisions about his care. The process was not easy. It required patience, vigilance, and a willingness to confront limitations without allowing them to define his identity. Yet through this disciplined approach, Bruce reclaimed a sense of agency that had been threatened during the years of struggle and silence. Spiritually and emotionally, Bruce's return was a time of deep reflection. He revisited the lessons of his origins, the spark that had led him to acting, and the challenges that had shaped his resilience. He found meaning not solely in accomplishment, but in connection, family, friendship, and the authentic moments that defined his humanity. The return was as much an internal journey as it was an external one, a reconciliation of past and present, strength and vulnerability, legend and man. The media began to recognize the narrative shift, capturing stories that emphasized courage, adaptability, and resilience rather than spectacle. Bruce's appearances, when carefully managed, communicated strength tempered by humility, experience balanced with reflection, and the enduring power of human spirit in the face of profound challenge. The return was subtle but unmistakable, a reclaiming of narrative control that allowed Bruce to define his story on his own terms, rather than through the lens of celebrity expectation. Stallone's perspective remained integral. The two men shared private conversations, reflections on career, friendship, and mortality, and the mutual understanding of what it means to endure in the public eye. Stallone's acknowledgement of Bruce's struggle gave permission for the world to see the humanity behind the icon, a transformative act that facilitated Bruce's own acceptance and reintegration into life, both privately and publicly. Bruce's return also inspired broader conversations about vulnerability, resilience, and the realities of health challenges for public figures. He became, intentionally or not, a symbol of courage beyond the screen, the embodiment of how to confront adversity with dignity, how to navigate life-altering circumstances while maintaining connection, and how to find meaning and strength that transcends physical prowess or fame. In this period, Bruce discovered the profound difference between fame and legacy. Fame, he realized, was ephemeral, dependent on public perception, media narratives, and market trends. Legacy, however, was cultivated through relationships, personal integrity, and the courage to face life's challenges with honesty and grace. The return became an opportunity not just to engage with the world, but to redefine what it meant to be Bruce Willis, the man, the father, the friend, the artist, and the human being confronting life's profound uncertainties with resilience. Every day of the return was a testament to endurance. Even minor successes, completing a scene, sharing a laugh with family, or simply navigating a difficult moment with composure, became victories. These milestones, though invisible to the wider public, represented immense personal courage, illustrating the profound human capacity to reclaim agency even after prolonged struggle and uncertainty. The return was also a narrative of hope. While the diagnosis could not be undone, Bruce's response to it demonstrated that strength is not solely defined by physical capability, but by the ability to adapt, persevere, and cultivate meaning amidst challenge. The courage to confront reality, the patience to engage in self-care, and the wisdom to lean on trusted relationships illustrated a form of heroism, far more enduring than any cinematic role. Through this return, Bruce re-established his presence in the lives of those who mattered most, reconnecting with his children, deepening bonds with family and friends, and embracing moments of joy that had long been overshadowed by the demands of fame and private struggle. The process was deliberate, intentional, and profoundly human, a journey that demonstrated the enduring power of friendship, loyalty, and the human spirit. Stallone's role in this chapter was both witness and catalyst. By speaking publicly about Bruce's condition, he validated the importance of honesty, visibility, and the transformative power of sharing private struggles in a responsible way. Together, they reframed the narrative. It was no longer a story of decline, but a story of resilience, courage, and the capacity to return, to face adversity, reclaim agency, and redefine life on one's own terms. Bruce Willis's return was not merely a comeback. It was an awakening. It was an acknowledgement that true heroism lies not in invincibility, but in the willingness to confront fragility with courage, to embrace vulnerability with dignity, and to navigate life's most profound challenges with grace. The legend remained, but it was now enriched with humanity, the lessons of experience, the strength of enduring friendship, and the resilience born from both private struggle and public scrutiny. Ultimately, Bruce's return serves as a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit. It is a story of recovery, adaptation, and the rediscovery of purpose beyond fame. It highlights the significance of support, the value of loyalty, and the quiet heroism that resides in confronting life's most difficult realities. For those who witness it, the return is an invitation to understand that even legends are human, and that true courage is often found not in triumph over external foes, but in the perseverance, dignity, and love with which one faces the internal battles that define existence. Bruce Willis's life, spanning decades of cinematic triumph, personal challenges, and private resilience, culminates in a legacy that transcends the screen. While audiences remember him as the quintessential action hero, the wisecracking John McClane who could survive impossible odds, the true measure of his legacy is far deeper, rooted in courage, humanity, and the enduring influence of a life lived authentically, despite profound challenges. From his early beginnings in Germany to the stages of New York theater, from small television roles to global cinematic fame, Bruce's journey reflects an evolution not only of talent, but of character. Each chapter, whether marked by public applause or private struggle, contributed to the complex tapestry that forms his legacy. It is a story of duality, the hero the world adored, and the man who carried hidden burdens with extraordinary discretion. Both are inseparable, each enhancing the other in ways that define the depth and resonance of his life story. His professional legacy is undeniable. Die Hard, Pulp Fiction, The Fifth Element, and countless other films cemented Bruce's place in cinematic history. These works are celebrated for their innovation, energy, and iconic performances. Yet they also reflect the meticulous discipline, instinctive skill, and emotional intelligence that Bruce brought to each role. He was not merely a performer. He was a storyteller, a man who understood that authenticity in performance creates connection, and that audiences respond not to spectacle alone, but to the humanity embedded within it. Yet Bruce's influence extends far beyond entertainment. His courage in confronting personal struggles, now made public through Stallone's revelations, sets a precedent for transparency, resilience, and dignity. In a world often captivated by perfection, Bruce's story underscores that vulnerability is not weakness, it is strength. His willingness to navigate illness privately, to continue contributing to his family and work, and to accept support when needed, reframes societal notions of heroism. He becomes a symbol of courage not through feats on screen, but through endurance, integrity, and the capacity to confront life's uncertainties with grace. The relationships Bruce cultivated form another essential dimension of his legacy. The bond with Sylvester Stallone exemplifies the power of loyalty, trust, and friendship forged over decades of shared experience. Through triumphs, challenges, and the revelation of personal health struggles, this friendship demonstrates that legacy is as much about human connection as it is about professional achievement. The presence of family, Emma Hemming, his children, and close friends, illustrates that enduring love, support, and emotional investment are cornerstones of a life remembered not merely for fame, but for depth of character. Bruce's legacy is also pedagogical in nature. His life offers lessons for both aspiring actors and those outside the entertainment industry. He embodies the principle that dedication and resilience matter as much as innate talent. That success is earned not only through skill, but through patience, discipline, and the willingness to endure setbacks. That public recognition, while gratifying, cannot substitute for personal growth, integrity, and emotional intelligence. In this way, his story becomes a template for navigating life's complexities with both ambition and humility. Health, vulnerability, and the confrontation of personal adversity further enrich Bruce's legacy. The diagnosis, once hidden, now contextualized through Stallone's disclosure, provides a narrative of courage and resilience that resonates globally. It highlights the reality that even the most seemingly invincible figures are human, and that the true measure of strength lies in the way one confronts challenges rather than avoiding them. Bruce's journey becomes emblematic of the quiet heroism inherent in enduring hardship while maintaining dignity, empathy, and connection. Cultural impact forms yet another layer. Bruce Willis's roles have influenced generations, not just in the realm of cinema, but in the broader cultural imagination. He redefined the archetype of the action hero, blending toughness with vulnerability, humor with gravitas, and strength with relatability. Characters like John McClane became templates for realism in action, inspiring actors, filmmakers, and audiences alike to appreciate nuance, emotional depth, and authenticity in storytelling. His legacy, therefore, is not static. It evolves as the cinematic landscape absorbs, reflects, and builds upon his contributions. Bruce's legacy is also deeply intertwined with ethical and professional conduct. Despite the pressures of Hollywood, he maintained a reputation for integrity, discipline, and respect. Directors, co-stars, and crew members frequently remarked on his professionalism, generosity, and ability to collaborate effectively even under intense conditions. These qualities, often overshadowed by the spectacle of fame, contribute to a legacy that demonstrates leadership, humanity, and the ability to inspire respect through both talent and character. The interplay of struggle and triumph amplifies the poignancy of his legacy. Bruce's life illustrates that public success and private adversity are not mutually exclusive, but often coexist in ways that define true heroism. He navigated a world that demanded perfection while contending with challenges that few could comprehend. The courage to face these realities without surrendering dignity, the patience to endure hardship while supporting family and friends, and the wisdom to embrace vulnerability when necessary, all underscore the enduring relevance of his story. Stallone's revelation further cements Bruce's legacy by contextualizing his struggles within a framework of friendship, loyalty, and courage. The public acknowledgement of his diagnosis does not diminish his achievements. It elevates them by highlighting the human resilience behind the public image. Bruce becomes not just an actor, but a living testament to the power of perseverance, the value of transparency, and the importance of community and support in the face of adversity. Philanthropy, mentorship, and quiet acts of generosity also enhance Bruce's lasting influence. Though often overshadowed by his cinematic persona, these contributions demonstrate a commitment to impact beyond personal gain. By supporting causes, engaging with emerging talent, and nurturing relationships, Bruce leaves behind a model of leadership and humanity that resonates far beyond awards and box office numbers. Finally, Bruce's legacy is ultimately one of inspiration. It is a reminder that even the most celebrated lives are composed of ordinary challenges, concealed struggles, and personal choices made in the pursuit of meaning, connection, and authenticity. His story teaches that endurance, empathy, and courage define heroism more than accolades, and that the measure of a life well lived is found not only in public acclaim, but in the private victories, relationships, and resilience cultivated over decades. In the end, Bruce Willis's life offers a narrative rich with complexity, triumph, and humanity. From the young boy navigating uncertainty, to the action star commanding global attention, to the man confronting private struggles with courage, every chapter contributes to a legacy that is both profound and enduring. It is a legacy of artistry, resilience, friendship, and the capacity to face life's inevitable challenges with dignity. His legacy reminds us that true greatness is not solely measured by public recognition, but by the strength with which one navigates adversity, the love one invests in family and friends, and the courage to confront life with authenticity. Bruce Willis will be remembered not just for the characters he brought to life on screen, but for the humanity, fortitude, and integrity he embodied off-screen, a testament to the enduring power of courage, friendship, and resilience. The story of Bruce Willis is now complete. It is a narrative of highs and lows, public triumph and private struggle, silence and return, fame and humanity. His life, illuminated by the honesty of Stallone's revelation, stands as a testament to enduring courage, profound friendship, and the human capacity to confront adversity while leaving an indelible mark on the world. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to Talksberry and comment. Remember, greatness isn't in the spotlight, but in the struggle behind it.